Welcome to today's presentation. Today, I'm going over Administrative Guide Procedure 30407, Personal Appearance, and I will also be going over Administrative Guide Procedure 30409, Religious Head Coverings. They begin with some very basic statements. Be neat and clean. Uniforms are to be properly fitted, clean, well-pressed, and in good repair. In other words, your uniforms can't be all tattered and torn up. They should be in good repair. And your shoes. Shoes must be shine. Have shiny shoes. But they provide a restriction. And will not display a clearly visible company name or a logo. They want your shoes shine, but they don't want any logos on it. You will keep your uniform securely buttoned, and they provide an exception what does not have to be buttoned. When a short sleeve shirt is worn, the collar button may be left unbuttoned, but all other buttons will be fastened. So if you're wearing a short sleeve shirt, that top button does not have to be buttoned, but all the remaining buttons of that short sleeve shirt does have to be buttoned. And your cap, your 8-point cap. You will wear your cap squarely on your head with the center of the visor directly over the nose. No hair is to be shown beneath the visor of the cap. And the cap must be worn when members are assigned to 1, foot patrol, 2, traffic posts, and 3, to details. And do you have to wear your cap while you're in your RMP? Well, the answer is no. When you're in your RMP, you don't have to. Members riding in a department vehicle may remove the cap while in the vehicle. And that's inferring that once you get out of the vehicle, you got to put your cap on. Now, we have the transit exception. Because if you're assigned to transit and you're either police officer or detective, sometimes in the year, you don't have to. You have the option of wearing your cap. Police officers and detectives assigned to subway patrol duties in uniform have the option to wear the cap during the period of May 1st to September 30th. That's right. Now, please note, that only applies to police officer detectives, because if you're a supervisor, you don't have that option. But if you're a police officer detective and you're assigned to subway patrol duties, you have the option of not wearing your cap between May 1st and September 30th. What about the rest of the year? What about October 1st all the way up until April 30th? At other times, the uniform cap must be worn. Yeah, you got to wear it other times of the year. But they give you an exception. Except where there are exigent circumstances. And then when the exigent circumstances have stabilized, the cap must be worn. Be careful. This does not apply to supervisors. This is specifically for police officers and detectives assigned to subway patrol duties in uniform. And you will prevent non-uniform items from showing above your uniform collar. When the short sleeve shirt is worn, undershirts, neck chains, or other non-uniform articles should not be visible with the open collar or below the sleeve ends of the shirt. So in other words, you do not want to be able to see your undershirt above your collar. They do not want to see another shirt below the sleeve ends of your shirt. And sleeves may not be rolled up, as you see here in my images. Great way to remember it. Visualize these images. Tattoos, a very important point. You got to know your tattoo rules, because members of the service who are hired on or after January 1st, 2007 must cover any visible tattoos by either regulation uniform, proper business attire, or a neutrally colored skin covering such as sports wrap or bandage. So, if you're hired on or after January 1st, 2007, tattoos have to be covered up. If you're hired before that date, you don't have to cover your tattoos. And please note, this applies whether you're in uniform or in plain clothes. If you're hired on or after January 1st, 2007, you have to cover up those visible tattoos. Such covering must resemble the skin tone of the member and must cover the entire tattoo. This includes, but is not limited to, any tattoos visible above the shirt collar, below the sleeve ends of any shirt, or any visible area of the leg, ankle, or foot. You got to cover your tattoos if you're hired on or after January 1st of 2007. And it doesn't matter if you're in uniform or plain clothes, you got to cover them up. But is there an exception when you can display those tattoos if you're hired on or after January 1st, 2007? There is. Your commanding officer give you permission to display those tattoos. A limited exception may be granted by the member's commanding officer in writing due to the nature of the member's assignment. Commanding officer says you can, and he's willing to put it in writing due to your assignment, then you could display those tattoos. And such approval must be filed in the member's personnel folder. Now, hair. Hair is always a very important point on promotional exams. You got to know all the rules regarding your hair. I never had to worry about those rules personally in the real world, but here they are. Wear your hair so that it's neatly groomed. And doesn't matter if you're male, doesn't matter if you're female, all these rules apply. All regulations regarding the appearance of the member's hair apply equally to male and female uniformed members of the service. Whenever a member is in uniform, regardless of whether or not the uniform cap is required, hair will not be worn so that it falls over the eyebrows or reaches the collar. Over the eyebrows or reaches the collar, regardless if the cap is worn or not. And ponytails are strictly prohibited in uniform. You're in the bag, you're in uniform, never have a ponytails. That means you can't put a ponytail hidden in your cap, because if they say you have a ponytail under the cap, that is prohibited. Ponytails are prohibited, period. No exceptions when you're in uniform. And they say it again, when the uniform cap is required, long hair must be securely gathered and placed under the uniform cap without the use of a ponytail. See, you can't use a ponytail in uniform, period, even if you're hiding it in your cap. The hairstyle must allow for the cap to be placed squarely on the head without visible bulk. Yeah, you can have so much hair that you'll see bulk. The length and the bulk of the hair should not interfere with the wearing of any uniform headgear, including emergency equipment. Yeah, it can't interfere with your 8-point cap, and it can't interfere with your helmet. And another absolute restriction with no exceptions. Any design shaved into a uniform member's hair or scalp are prohibited. Not allowed, period. And we have the newest part of this procedure. Hair is to be of naturally occurring color. You're only allowed to have hair with a naturally occurring color. And they give you examples of the type of color you can have, like blue or green. You're not allowed to have blue or green hair. Can't have pink hair either. Can't have any color other than a naturally occurring color. Now, the next part is very important. We're going to go over hair holding devices, and there are two types. They're the prohibited type and the acceptable type. First, we're going to go over the acceptable type, the type of hair holding devices that you're allowed to wear. Necessary hair holding devices such as, but not limited to, rubber bands, clips, berets, pins, when used, must be unadorned and plain and be transparent or similar to the color of the hair. Those are the acceptable hair holding devices. They got to be unadorned and plain and transparent or similar to the color of the hair. And rubber bands are good, clips are good, braids are good, and pins are good. As long as, again, they are unadorned and plain and transparent or similar to the color of the hair. All such devices must be unobtrusive and concealed as much as possible. Those are the good, the okay, the acceptable hair holding devices. Now we got to go over what is not acceptable, what is prohibited. No good. What's no good? Hair scarves are no good. Beads are no good. Bows are no good. Large and decorative fabric-covered elastic bands, also known as scrunchies, are no good. Large plastic clips are no good, or other ornamental items are prohibited. Those are all the prohibited hair holding devices. Do not mix them up with the acceptable hair holding devices. You will not wear ornaments or jewelry visible on the head, neck, wrist, or performing duty in uniform. In uniform, you can't wear a crown, you can't wear a necklace, and you can't wear a bracelet. Okay, no crown, no necklace, no bracelet. Why? You can't have those ornaments or jewelry visible around the head, the neck, or the wrist. And they do give you some examples of things you cannot wear. Prohibited ornaments include, but not limited to, earrings are no good. Necklaces are no good. Neck chains are no good. Bracelets are no good. And be careful here, body piercing is no good, period. But here's an exception to the bracelet rule. We just said bracelets are no good, but here's the exception. Medical alert bracelets may be visible. Sure, a medical alert bracelet indicates to everybody that you have a medical issue, that if something happens to you, you should be aware of. That is acceptable to wear, and it could be visible. And then we have the watch band, okay? And they give you exactly the colors that are acceptable for that watch band. Watch bands must be a conservative color, such as navy, black, brown, yellow metal, white metal, or similar colors. Those are acceptable watch bands. And let's talk about rings. Some rings are good, some rings are bad. Some rings you could wear, and some rings you can't wear. Let's talk about the rings that you can't wear first. Rings may be worn if they are generally smooth and not likely to catch on other objects. And what are the rings that are bad, that you're not allowed to wear, that are prohibited to wear? Rings with jagged edges and raised stones are not permitted. Jagged edges or raised stones are no good. And then we got to talk about fingernails. Keep fingernails neatly trimmed and extending no more than a quarter inch from the fingertip. Quarter inch from the fingertip. And are you allowed to have any type of accessories on your fingernails? Absolutely not. Any raised ornamental accessories that are worn or affixed to the nails are prohibited. And to give you examples, no little shiny rhinestones or no other jewelry. Okay, they're not allowed to be on your fingernails. And they provide us some guidance regarding the color of your nails. Yes, nail polish is to be clear or conservative in color if worn. Question is, what exactly is conservative? But I have here my little image here. I wouldn't say that bright red or bright blue or bright yellow or bright pink. Those are not conservative colors. Remember, nail polish, clear or a conservative color. And that's a new addition to this procedure. And are you allowed to wear cosmetics? Yes, but you're not allowed to look like Bozo the Clown. Only those cosmetics which are conservative in color and amount shall be permitted. Both conservative color and amount. How about eyeglasses? They provide us guidance? They do. Eyeglasses will be conservative style and color. They want conservative style and color, and they tell you exactly what colors it should not be. No neon or brightly colored frames will be worn. I want to repeat that one. No neon or brightly colored frames may be worn. And how about eyeglass straps? Can you wear them? You may, but they're very restrictive. Eyeglass straps may be worn, but they must be black. And believe it or not, that was a prior promotional exam question. Black eyeglass straps are good. Any other color, no good. And let's be careful about the next point. While in uniform and public view, do not chew gum, do not use any form of tobacco, okay, and that would be smoking or possibly chewing tobacco, and do not hold a toothpick in your mouth. But please note here, this applies when you're in uniform, you're in the bag, and you're in public view. Because if you're in uniform, in the bag, and in public view, you can't chew gum. If you're in uniform and in public view, you cannot use any form of tobacco. If you're in uniform and in public view, you can't hold a toothpick in your mouth. And this is a very general statement. When authorized to perform duty in civilian clothing, wear attire appropriate for assignment. I guess it would depend upon what you're assigned to do, would determine your attire would be appropriate. And they say you will comply with AG 30408, the facial hair policy. And I have an entirely other core video on AG 30408 facial hair policy, and I go over when you're allowed to grow facial hair and when you're not allowed to grow facial hair. I highly recommend you watch that core video in addition to this one, of course. And this procedure, 30407, personal appearance, also says you will comply with AG 30409, religious head covering if applicable. Now that is a very short procedure, so I decided to go over AG 30409, religious head covering, right now while covering this procedure. Because here's the rule about wearing a religious head covering. Head coverings may be worn with a written approval of the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity, OEEO. Now, just a little cross-reference. If I would like to grow facial hair due to a sincerely held religious belief, do I also need written approval of OEEO? I do. So if I want to wear a religious head covering, I need written approval of OEEO also. And then they provide us guidance regarding wearing that head covering. The head covering must conform to the standards prescribed by the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity, OEEO, and have a cap device affixed to the front of the head covering if appropriate. And all hair must neatly fit inside the head covering. And in case of an incident where the use of a tight-fitting helmet is required, the head covering must be removed to don appropriate protective headgear. Yeah, that means in an emergency, the person who has written approval of OEEO to wear that religious head covering will have to remove that religious head covering to put his helmet on in an emergency. And they also tell you in 30409, that other procedure, religious head covering procedure, how you apply to be allowed to wear that religious head covering. So when a uniformed member of service, including a member of service assigned to the Traffic Enforcement District or the School Safety Division, who is authorized to wear a duty uniform, wishes to wear a religious head covering, he prepares a form and he has to give it to somebody. Just like if you would like to apply to grow facial hair, same thing here. Requesting member of service prepares the reasonable accommodation request and submits it to OEEO. That's right. Because if I had a sincerely held religious belief and I want to grow facial hair, that's how I will make the request to grow facial hair. Same thing here. I want to request to wear a religious head covering. Fill out the form and give it to OEEO. And we have a captain's duty. Sergeant's exam, lieutenant's exam, you're not going to get a question on captain, but be careful. Just a very simple captain's duty here. That commanding officer member concerned will ensure the requesting member complies with the provisions of religious accommodation. Yeah, making sure you follow the procedure correctly. And we have one lieutenant's duty also in 30409, the religious head covering procedure. He will maintain a copy of the final determination of reasonable accommodation in the member's personnel folder. Does the ICO have to do the exact same thing regarding that reasonable accommodation request to grow facial hair due to a sincerely held religious belief? He does. He takes that reasonable accommodation request, whether it's for to grow facial hair or whether it's for to wear a religious head covering, and he's going to maintain a copy in that member's personnel folder. And there it is, 30407, personal appearance. It was effective on June 17th of 2024, and it was last revised by revision order number 25 of 2024. My name's Mike Yanisic. You have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email me at mike@elitestrategictraining.com, or you can email my son, Connor at elitestrategictraining.com. Or you could call us at 516-761-9101. Keep studying, stay focused, and stay motivated. Until next time.